Republican Governor Henry McMaster's declared a state of emergency Sunday as wildfires charred thousands of acres there, causing homeowners to flee encroaching flames. Unusually dry and windy conditions have reportedly fueled more than 175 wildfires as firefighters battle the blazes from the air and the ground. The state's Forestry Commission said today that more than 5,400 acres have burned with heavy smoke causing road closures. Russell Hubert, that is, the South Carolina Forestry Commission chief, called the fires erratic.
It's very erratic. You saw it, the flames were low, and all of a sudden they jumped up, right? So wind changes can do that, and this kind of a fuel type, as we call it, so it can be a little scary.
A cool front is forecast to bring showers on Wednesday. At last report, no injuries or structures were damaged. And joining us now is the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America. He is the author of 4 books, including Green Breakdown, the Coming Renewable Energy Failure. Steve Gorham, welcome to Victory News, sir.
Mike, great to join you today.
Now, Steve, you just heard the previous story on the wildfires in South Carolina. When we see events like this and the California wildfires from last month, does it confirm the argument many are making for climate change?
Yes, many are claiming that. That's very unfortunate. Now, what they had in North and South Carolina was dry conditions and gusty winds. That's weather. That's not climate. Climate occurs over a 30-year to hundreds of year periods. And by the way, if you look at the data, the history of the United States during the 1920s and 1930s, we had many, many more fires, much more acreage burned than we are today. And even the National Aeronautic and Space Administration published a study in 2019 saying that global burned area had been declining for 2 decades. And they do this with satellites. They track all the fires across the world. So you have to wonder about if global burned area is declining and if U.S. fires are down from the 20s and 30s, how can the fires in North and South Carolina be from man-made warming? And the answer is they aren't. They're from weather conditions.
Understood. Now, I want to play you a clip of a recent weather forecast from the Today Show and get your take.
As the planet is warming, climate change has actually caused significant warming up into the Arctic. So as that warm air comes up into the Arctic, that weakens the polar vortex, that boundary, and it allows that cold air to move south. And that is why climate change, global planet warming, actually allows some parts of the country to be colder than usual.
So, Steve, it sounds like Al Roker is saying that global warming is causing global cooling. What's your response to this climate analysis, if you will?
Well, I should first say the climate is always changing. We've had changes throughout all of history. We've had a gentle warming in the last 140 years since we've had thermometers of a little over 1 degree Celsius. But, you know, we used to call these things cold snaps. Now they call them polar vortexes, and it makes good news. But it's not clear that your neighbor's SUV or your gas stove is causing this. Again, this is weather. This is a weather situation. And by the way, the data shows that we've had many times in the last 10,000 years when it was warmer than today. There's many spots around the world where we have glaciers today where we didn't have glaciers 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, where we had forests. So again, this is makes good news copy, but not really accurate.
Sure, understood. Now, we hear so much about the danger of human greenhouse gas emissions and how they're causing dangerous climate change, but you have a different take on this, and you've kind of talked about it, but fill us in a little bit more. And all this money that's being spent on this is is it a waste?
Well, it is in many ways. So if you break down the greenhouse effect, the trapping of infrared radiation in the Earth's atmosphere, which is blamed for dangerous climate change, and human greenhouse gases doing that trapping, you find first off that the greenhouse effect is overwhelmingly caused by water vapor and clouds. And second, Earth's natural emissions of carbon dioxide are much, much larger, 20 times the size of emissions from all of our industries. So humans have a small effect, but it's probably 1 or 2% effect on the greenhouse effect and on global warming.
Good to hear. Now, in your recent book, Green Breakdown, you predicted the world is heading for a renewable energy failure. What will that look like?
Yeah, well, the world has been pushing for net zero, get rid of coal, oil, natural gas by 2050, replaced with wind, solar, and biofuels. But that's an impossible dream. That's not going to happen. And we're now seeing a breakdown in green energy. Mr. Trump is rolling back all kinds of policies. We have states and communities opposing wind and solar. We have a lot of problems with offshore wind. So we're going to see this over the next 2 decades. We're going to get back to sensible energy policy and adaptation to climate, which is the only sensible policy.
And you can get a copy of your book, Green Breakdown, on Amazon. You can learn more about Steve by visiting stevegorham.com. Thank you for joining us today, Steve.